ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, finally, to the seventh episode of the Redsun and TF Unofficial Podcast. I am joined, as per usual, by my co-host Sui.
Hi, I'm Suisoldier. Hi.
That is his name. And with great honor, we are joined by Mikusch.
Hi, I'm Miku.
That is his name as well. You guys are very good at remembering your names. Um, it's hard to really give the full and proper introduction to the podcast with such, to me, such an important figure in the room. It really draws the attention, so to speak.
I don't know about important, but
We're all important in one way or another to this grand scheme of a server, of a podcast, of whatever, really. Once again, thank you to our audio listeners for tuning in. We will go ahead and get started with, as per usual, what has happened in Redsun in the last week. Going over my little timeline, on March 28th, I believe, we had started a short little mini event lasting 3 or so days, which should have ended today, which was the Egg Extravaganza. Egg Extravaganza was basically a retooling of the code from Echolocation and using it for a very light event with mostly BP, item rewards, something like that. Just to kind of use the system again, have some fun with it. I liked it. I think it's good.
yeah, many people actually thought it was very neat to bring back something that we had already used in the past and just kind of repurposing it. Obviously, it's nothing flashy. I just thought it would be neat for Easter specifically to have an egg hunt. It
Yeah, I think
seemed,
it's fun. I
seemed
remember.
like a waste.
You first.
No, it seemed like a waste otherwise to just let that sit there for another 5 years before we realize, oh no, we actually made that at one point.
Yeah, I like having something like Echolocation back again. Originally, I remember we discussed this, me and Sui, in the first episode. But originally, our big game theory for what the big new event was going to be, Warp Zone, was going to be about, we thought it was just going to be Echolocation 2. Essentially, just Echolocation, the full event, so to speak.
Ooh.
It was very much not that. We could not have gotten it more wrong. We could have said it was Swashbuckler too. That would have been more wrong technically, but
That's true.
yeah. So there is one situation we could have gotten it more wrong, but otherwise we were pretty far off in that assumption. Though of course nothing wrong at Warp Zone. I mean, we've spent most of the time here singing the praises of Warp Zone. It's been a pretty peak event.
Yeah, obviously. Things could have gotten better, but overall it was nice. There was not really
Yeah.
anything
I
bad.
could say about Warp Zone is really a nitpick at best. I really don't feel like there was any big overarching thing that was an issue. Like, I could nitpick about some systems of the party, but again, nitpicks. That's all I have. It's just little itty bitty nitpicks. I think for the most part it worked out really well, and I was happy to play through it.
It's always surprising when an event actually works out fine, because obviously when we make these, we never know how it's gonna turn out in the end.
I mean, outside of the first 3 days on Armstrong, maybe.
Yeah.
It was
Um,
fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I know Sui
did-
has a lot of experience with those first 3 days on Armstrong.
The first 3 days, and then like the last 2 days, it really hurt my soul.
Did you have to grind?
Yeah, me
I
and Sui
logged back
both
in,
grinded that
and I had
last 2 days.
137 tickets left.
I mean, in all fairness, we were like spacing everything out so that you should be playing every day for a bit to actually earn your progress. But obviously, many people didn't do that. And on like the last 3 days or so, we saw like a rush of 20 people all trying to earn 100 tickets in a day.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it
Yeah.
is. I've discussed it a few times on the podcast, but just with my current work schedule, which I'm hoping I do get to change up soon, I am only really around for like an hour of Redsun being alive. So for the most part, it was kind of rough to get on Redsun every day, because it wasn't guaranteed it was alive every day by the time I got off of work, or at least alive in any meaningful way. I'm not sure where Sui stood on his schedule.
Oh, I just didn't want
You
to play
just didn't
Redstone
want to
every
do it.
day.
That's fair. That is fair. There's nothing wrong.
I played the first 3 days and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take like a week break, and then I
Shockingly,
didn't come back until like 2 hours before it ended.
shockingly, 90% of problems on Redsun are solved by just leaving the server and not playing for like an hour or a day or whatever. More than 90%, probably, just solved by skipping something you don't want to be playing. It's not that hard, actually. But now is not the time for that rant. Next up in terms of things that happened last week was, of course, the artificial event by Zane. Of course, the event this month was the Hunger Games Simulator Tournament. I forgot to throw myself in, most unfortunately, but again, it's mostly been a matter of I don't know what maps I'd even pick.
I mean, I threw myself in like an hour before it started because I honestly forgot, and I just said, "Oh yeah, if I win, just give it to the next person."
I probably should have done that.
It never happens because I never win these things. I not a single time I've participated in one of these Hunger Games simulators, but whether it be on Redsun or someone else, I won.
I won one once about 5 years ago for a fandom community. It was great. Great time. Good memories. Makes me wish manslaughter was legal, but unfortunately, we can only express this through Redsun.
Was it Undertale?
No, it was like fucking something Nintendo, I think. Long story. I'd have to peer through some memory vaults to regain that information. I just have a vague familiarity with success. And speaking of successes, our 3 winners for this event were in order: Zabad Medic, Jeff, and I can't seem to be reading the name of the 3rd winner. It's H-A-R... It's bizarre name. Congratulations to you 3. As was the order of maps done in the event, with Zbad Medic being the winner. His map choices were Rock, Paper, Glitter, Mystery Map, Payload Skirmish, Stop That Tank, and Secret Pizza Tower, Dodgeball. For Jeff's map, did I say Jeff was the 2nd winner?
Yes.
Okay, I did not remember if I said it or not. Jeff's 2 maps were Super Zombie Fortress Atlantis and Death Run Windows XP. And this strange, mysterious fellow, whose name I am not quite sure of, picked Water Run. Very interesting selections today. Or yesterday. The day before. I'm not really sure when the 30th was. The point is, it is in the past, and that was March's Artifictional. We will be sure again to let you all know when the next one pops up. Yada yada. And of course, for the last thing to cover, I suppose we could probably yap a little about today, briefly. Today, of course, April Fools, means we played a lot of silly, funny April Fools maps. I don't remember the exact number I did, but there was like at least about 50 April Fool maps in the server rotation. Not sure how many of them we got through on Redsun today. I was not around for most of it. I only really made time for Bowtine's Free.
Yeah, that's a mess of a map. You joined for the highlight of the day, basically.
It was a map.
Yeah, it certainly is a map that someone made. You're right.
Could you, I guess because you had a little more intimate experience with the map, I presume, being there longer, would you like to elaborate maybe a little on the difference between Bowtines 2 and 3, maybe? Just so I can get kind of a
Oof.
better picture. I
Um,
don't remember the stock trading.
No, the stock trading was new and it was like actually a huge part. You could buy stocks and they would go up the more people bought them. I think in the end, Blue had like $17,000 worth for one stock, which no one could buy anymore and everyone was just hoarding them. It was really strange. In general, the Bowtines is this fever dream that gets released like every April Fools, and we on Redsun play religiously. Uh, it's hard to even describe why we do it. It's just mindless fun.
It is one of my all-time Redsun maps. I would say Bowtines 1 and 2. Just for the sheer fact there's nothing like it. There's a lot of, I don't even know how I'd put it, I guess meme spam maps that, like older ones, which will never have the same charm Bowtines does, and I wish I could articulate why Bowtines feels so unique and different in a
It actually
way
has
that's like
stuff to do.
smart.
It has a lot to do. Every corner of the map you go to, there's something to do, and obviously the whole achievement collecting part. Everyone goes crazy and tries to speedrun the achievements whenever the map is played. I don't really understand it. I'm just kind of there for the sheer chaos and watching new players spread out at it.
Yeah. I guess the best way to put it is it does not feel like TF2 in the slightest.
Not really, though.
Like, we're clearly using the engine. This is clearly Team Fortress 2, but it does not in the slightest feel like Team Fortress 2. I think that's its unique factor.
It's like a trade map, but also not really. Because it tries to integrate combat elements, but it does this in the most weird way. You can just buy weapons in Bowtines 3 now. You can buy a rocket launcher and keep it as a scout.
I saw
I don't know.
a couple people with sticky jumpers.
It's pretty fun, honestly. This was a thing in Bowtines 2 as well, but it didn't work. I guess he fixed it up for the third one.
Yeah, I remember the weapon stations in Bowtines too. But I thought that was the bit. I thought that was on purpose. I thought they were not meant to work.
I honestly don't know if they were meant to work or not. It could have very well been a joke.
I don't know. I think I feel fairly confident it was now that it was probably meant to work. And that was just kind of a, TF2 being a 400-year-old engine. And every couple weeks, you get a message in the console that says, like, return the slab, or something like that.
What?
Return the slab.
Oh my god.
Just in the console. You first.
We still have other April Fool's maps to go as well. This was only the first one that we decided to play today. We're probably gonna do the rest tomorrow, April 2nd.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's probably better to split it up in 2 days. I hope this podcast did not ruin that.
No.
Either way, I think it's healthier to split things up in 2 days. It's not like anybody's gonna perish in the next day or two, so it's fine. Outside of that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else particularly special that happened in the last week. I do not believe anything else is immediately coming to mind. Oh, I forgot to... I talked about watching out for the next Artifictional, but we do have information on what is the next Artifictional. According to Zane, it's in events announcements. What is it? yeah. The next one on April 13th will be Worms Open Warfare 2. That will be, I believe that's when the betting period starts, if I am reading the message correctly. So be on the lookout for that come April 13th. And that is that in terms of Redsun this week. I'd say it has been one of the better weeks. We've had a lot of good weeks, I feel like, since starting this podcast, and I feel like almost every week I've ended it off with, this has been a pretty good week for Redsun. So, hey, in the future, let's work towards getting one that's shit, so I report, this week has been shit on Redsun. Don't know how you guys can accomplish it, but I trust you guys. I know you can do it. I know you can make the podcast new and invigorating.
Too much faith.
Too much faith. Alright. And in a moment here, I believe, with you as our esteemed and honored guest, we can start on getting in some questions, I guess, about you and some of your, history, your time on Redsun. Just first, I want to make sure, Sui, are we recovered from our internet issues?
Yes, hi, I've been here the whole time.
More or less. Alright, just checking in to make sure. Alright. I have sent Sui a version of the questions. Just going over the list, I'm just trying to peer at kind of what's the best place to start. And I did have somebody's question in mind, but I'm not sure whose. Alright. There we go. I think this is a really good question to start out on. Just kind of set the scene, set who we're dealing with, set what's going on. From Jay on the community forum, and before anything, I'd just like to thank everyone again who did submit a real question, and I would like to bid Ethan explode. I'm watching you, Ethan. I'm watching you real close, buddy.
Yeah, fuck you, Ethan.
Fuck you, Ethan.
That's mean.
It's okay. We love Ethan. We love Ethan on this podcast. We only do that because he's oomph. So we will start with the actual first question, which was from Jay, which is, what were you doing in TF2 prior to Redsun? And I guess I'll elaborate on that question myself, kind of, what brought you to TF2, so to speak?
I actually remember it. I was in middle school. We were at recess, and my friends told me, "Oh, there's this cool game called Team Fortress 2. Do you want to try it?" And I told them it sucks without ever trying it out.
The true Red Sunner at heart.
Then I went home. I installed it, and about a month later, I had 200 hours in the game, and all my friend could do was just laugh at it. And now, a couple years later, I have 17,000 hours in it, and I don't know where my life went.
That's really funny.
I cannot emphasize enough how much of a Red Sunner response that was. This is the best one yet.
Oh, that game sucks. Hasn't played a fucking hour of it.
I've heard so many good stories about how people got into TF2, and that's so good.
It's hilarious as well because that friend ended up playing it for a total of 40 hours maybe, and then never again.
Wow.
Crazy. I don't suppose you've kept up with them at all.
I actually play laser tag with him like semi-regularly, so I am in contact with him.
Is he aware?
He is aware. He's very much aware. He has never actually brought it up after the fact, but he knows.
You should bring him on Redsun sometime. I think that would be great. You just bring him on and say, "Here's what you fucking did, asshole. You made this
Oh
happen."
my god.
That is crazy. God, I don't think we're gonna get a better question than that. I almost want to end the episode here. But, I guess I'll peer over the rest of the questions. I guess the natural way to go on from that. I am not sure if anybody asked this yet. I'm sure somebody on the forum asked it. I just can't see it in the little copied question thread I made. I will bring up your name later if I remember it. But I guess the natural way to move on is kind of what brought you on the Redsun. I know you've talked about your kind of origin, I guess, a couple times and how quickly you became admin and stuff. But I guess if we could have a little bit more of an intimate kind of review of things.
I mean, what brought me to Redsun is that one day I was bored and searched for micro TF2, or what I searched for was WarioWare servers, and micro TF2 showed up.
Damn.
And Redsun was like the only server with players that actually ran it. If it wasn't for that moment, me searching it up, I don't think I would have been there.
Micro TF haters are fucking screaming right now.
Hell yeah.
They're mauling. They cannot comprehend this.
I'm not even
Dude.
that big of a micro TF2 fan. It was just like I remember playing WarioWare a couple of years back. I was like, oh, I want to play that again. I gotta look for a server, and then I realized they're all dead.
Yeah.
There's just none left except.
Was that by the
Redsun.
point that Legacy WarioWare was like broken?
Yeah, kind of. Micro TF2 was really new at that time. Like it just came out. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's a tragedy what happened to the old WarioWare.
Yeah, I don't mind Micro TF2 though. It is a bit of a diet version of what we had, but it is a lot more polished. I can
That's-
appreciate that more.
That's always how I've kind of felt about the difference was... So, no shame on Micro TF. I was just talking a second ago about how I like it. But, like, the old WarioWare was such an interesting thing. And I think saying it was kind of a mini WarioWare is not inaccurate. I think the main difference is that a lot of the games on the old WarioWare were a bit more fleshed out, so to speak. Not always for better, not always for worse. It's more so just like they were more mini games than micro games, which maybe that's inaccurate to, you know, the source material, I guess. I guess you could say that our current micro TF is a much more faithful adaptation, but I don't know. I kind of liked having longer mini games like that. You can
Look, all
invest.
I want back is the hugging heavies minigame, the boss game.
Yes.
It's the only thing that's stuck in my mind after all this time. The
I'll
hugging
take
heavy
all the
minigame.
racing ones back. I admit it. I'm a sucker for bumper car physics in TF2. I think it is incredibly fun. I like strafing while boosting. I like the fun of that. Like, can I take this angle without launching me off the map? It's a very, very genuinely rewarding, like, risk-reward system that I would sink 100,000 hours into it if it was like an actual racing game or something with that mechanic.
See, I think you're insane. I think bumper car physics are terrible.
No, it's kind of fun because it is terrible. That's a little part
okay.
of it. That's a little part of it, but I do genuinely think there is something special to that air strafing. You know, the air strafe boosting. Like, can I do this without throwing myself off the map? I genuinely think there's potential in there for like a real shit go-kart racing game. Like, you could make a real game out of this, I feel like. But that's just me.
You
It's
would have
interesting to hear.
loved. You would have loved Redsun card.
I have seen the stirrings of it. I would have loved it. I would have loved it.
Yeah, you would have been the like one of 3 fans. So
Still one of 3. That's okay. As we said earlier, I can talk to myself for an hour straight, so I'm all
yeah,
the
I'm
company
very
I
aware
need.
of that.
I'm all the company I need. It works out,
Man.
baby.
I missed the jump rope minigame. Remember that?
Ooh, I love a good jump rope minigame. Reminds me of a TF2 party, the legendary, wonderful thing that is.
Man, people need to put more respect on WarioWare. That's what got me into Slag.
So if we have no other takeaway this episode, respect WarioWare and Micro TF, audio listeners. Respect.
True.
It
I'm
brought
talking to you, Bagel.
Michael Kushner. Where would we be without him? We'd have slightly less MVM content. That's all I can be sure of.
Are you throwing shade?
No, I'm really not.
Jolly.
I
No,
know that's like
It
the
is something
main
I've
thing
kind
I
of
do.
noticed is that your main I'm sorry if this comes out like rude or anything, but your main two like fascinations I've kind of noticed with the stuff you add to the game is something MVM or something manpower.
You're not wrong, because I like reusing elements of the game that are already there and just twisting them.
Yeah, that's like a reasonable thing to do. It's just kind of a thing I've noticed personally. I really apologize if this is coming off as like throwing shade. It's not. I think I was one of the few pastime and manpower fans ever. I
Ooh,
thought
I mean,
they rocked.
pastime. I played that when it came out. I got the achievements and I never played it again.
I think if Valve sucked less at mapping their own maps, there was potential.
I don't know. Pastime is something that I can't like personally. Manpower, on the other hand, I love that. It's just that most of the maps are really terrible.
There is something amusing about seeing like payload maps and shit twisted into the format. None of them are good maps. It's just really amusing. Like, what
We
is it?
have-
Thunder Mountain is the one that immediately comes to mind.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know
mean-
what they were thinking.
And it's not just Valve maps, also community maps. We have this PD Gump, which is just manpower player destruction. That map is strange to me. It's just very vertical, which I guess for grappling hooks it makes sense, but I don't like playing on it. I really don't.
I'm not the biggest fan of the grappling hook aspect of things.
No, same here. I
Like-
especially hate how you have to equip it every time you
Yeah.
spawn in.
Like, I guess I would say overall grappling hooks are probably a positive addition to TF2 in terms of like other game modes they've been used in other projects.
Hey, I could add them to. I added them to prop hunt. That's the one.
Yeah, I
use
remember
wanted.
that. That was a
Yeah.
good use of them. That was a really good use of them. I don't particularly care for it in the original game mode. Funny how
No.
that works out.
Not really. The power ups are cool, but I really don't care about the grappling hook either.
All right then. Outside of that, I guess this will probably be another question that's already in here, but I guess if we could elaborate a little on, what got you to where you are in the community, like, what got you to be a developer, what got you to be a moderator.
I mean, as I said, I joined after Micro TF2 and then actually stuck around because I noticed, oh, the server runs other things as well. Okay, might as well see what they have in store. And that was my first real contact with many of the game modes that we run. Like at that point, I've never played something like Freeze Tag before. I've never really played Class Warfare, and I was like, this is really cool. I kind of want to do something like that as well. And I had a background in coding already, so I was like, I might as well try. If it doesn't work, so be it, but I might as well try. So I made TF Go in 2 weeks. It took me 2 weeks to make it.
Really? 2 weeks?
Yes, in 2 weeks with no prior knowledge of how to make anything in TF2. And I showed that. I actually had it play tested by different people on Redsun. Then I applied as a developer, and not a surprise, they immediately accepted me. And after that, it really just was a matter of I want to get more involved with the community. I apply as a moderator. Some stuff happened. I got promoted to community manager, and eventually I became Toro's right hand, essentially. It escalated really quickly, and I can't even tell you how that happens, to be fair.
I mean, me and Sui felt that for sure. It was That was what I remember of you entering the server. It's just like, God, it felt like just immediately like, oh, this person's here. Oh, they're admin. What the fuck? What? Who are you? Who are
That's-
you?
That is interesting. A lot of old players that came back, like after a 10-month hiatus or something, they came back and were like, "Who is this admin? I've never seen this guy before."
Yeah, I guess my
Kinda
case is
the-
a little different since 2019, around that time, was when I kind of started Redsun. So,
Hmm.
yeah, not too long before Phoenix Rising. So it was a very special case of, who the fuck is this guy?
That's when you started. That's when I came back. But I think the same shared thing was like, huh? What? Who's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. It's funny in hindsight. I do remember very well, though, that just sudden appearance of this Michael-based entity on the servers. And I'm very glad
helped.
for it.
Yeah, it helped that I actually did a lot of stuff that other people just couldn't do or wouldn't do at the time. Because I think partially why I rose up so quickly is because it was shortly after Darth Mule, aka Sash, left as admin, and things kind of crumbled down a bit. And I picked up the pieces, so to speak, and cleaned up a bit. Like, one of the first things I did when I became community manager was like making those community crates, the Half-Life or just in general Valve game crate. I made that out of item suggestions that have been sitting there for basically 3 or more years.
Unrelated, but this is my first knowledge that Darth Maul and Sash are the same person.
Excuse me?
I
What?
was not aware.
Oh my god.
Okay, so like I said, I haven't been around for most of Redsun lore like that. So this is my first knowledge of that. I just assumed Darth Maul was some mythical entity that disappeared one day. Like the fucking Avatar.
I mean, he kind of did.
He kind of
But
did.
also, he came back, like, I think it was about a year ago and then stuck around.
Yeah.
Okay, every time I do one of these episodes, I put together my mental map of Redsun just a little bit better. And hopefully in time I will be a proper scholar of events I was never there for. A proper scholar, and trust me, bro. And I believe we did have a couple questions on TFGo specifically, which would be
Oh,
a good
God.
way to transition this. Not a whole lot, yeah. Yeah, from Forged Identity, Forged asks, is there anything Miku used in TFGo or anything he learned while making it that he still uses today in his newer plugins?
No, everything I learned back then was absolutely no. It was my first attempt at making a plugin, and I obviously did learn quite a bit. But the TFGo genuinely is one of the worst things I ever made, and to this day I have not had the time to go back and rewrite it because there's also not enough desire for people to have it be rewritten. So I'm just gonna let it sit there. It's like an artifact at this point,
Well, as far as I remember me and Sui's opinions, I can't say for certain about Sui's, but I remember my own. After kind of a few years of letting it sit and letting myself, mature and develop my opinions, I kind of dig TFGo, honestly. I think it's fun. I think it's a very fun, simple arena game mode in, kind of an environment where a lot of the newer game modes we have are pushing some big arena scheme of being this big dramatic encounter. I mean, you think of stuff like, well, VSH isn't new, but stuff like, VSH. I guess if you want to get real, no, not Mid'em, but, stuff like VSH, something like Super Zombie 4. There's a third example that's really smart that I'm forgetting right now. But just stuff where, like, respawning is not a thing, and they become kind of big dramatic encounters, and I think a lot of kind of arguing comes from game modes like that. I don't see people argue with each other in TFGo. You know what I mean?
But I think that's because people just really don't care. Like, most
If it gets
people
voted.
it barely gets voted, and when it does, most people will just sit through it or actually just straight up RTV it. And I don't blame those people because I don't even like it myself at this point.
I mean, I definitely
I-
prefer people refusing to engage with something they don't like instead of bitching through it for 20 minutes. Like,
That's true.
to be fair, I much prefer that. But I don't
That's-
know. I kind of dig it.
As I said, I really had the idea to rewrite it at one point and actually balance it, because as it stands right now, it mostly is a steamroll on one team, which I just hate. I think if it taught me anything is how to balance things as much as possible. Obviously, balance is a very tricky subject, but you can always steer it in one direction.
And what's kind of the direction you try to veer it in then?
Aim for fun first, then the balance. If something isn't fun, does it matter if both teams have an equal win chance? Not really, right?
I think honestly a lot of games, not every game obviously. I mean, something like your average 5v5 team shoot or something like that, I get the struggle for like a 50-50 win rate on that. But I think a lot of games really don't super fit a 50-50 agenda.
No, I think TFGO should though. Or
I
at
think
least as
TFGO
much as
should because
possible.
it is that, equal team, yada yada.
Yeah.
It's
But
just kind of an unrelated yap I have. Like, what is it? I remember a lot of people had issues with what was the zombie game mode that came out Halloween last year?
Zombie infection.
Zombie infection. I remember a lot of people not super happy with the way that was balanced. But my thought is, the zombie team should normally win in a zombie game, right?
That is
like, I'm not
exactly...
crazy, right?
No, that's how I always argue in favor of that game mode. It's the same with VSH. I think Hale should win most of the time. The game mode is literally titled after him.
Yeah, exactly. I think, what is it, V-Script VSH, among the many things I like about it, I kind of like that I feel, at least in my experience, Hale wins a little bit more.
Yeah, he definitely does. He
It's
has a
not
lot more HP. And I see a lot of
disproportionate.
people comment on that HP.
It is a lot of HP. But yeah, I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a disproportionate amount, but I do feel like that Hale does win a little bit more, and I think that's good. I think the boss should win more often in the boss game mode. That's not a complicated opinion, I feel like.
No, that's also just something I always try to do. Put a new player into your game mode with basically almost no knowledge on how to meta game it, and watch how they do. If you put them in the shoes of Hale in our VSH rewrite, I think he will get shredded pretty quickly. That's kind of my problem with it a bit, and I think the VScript Hale solves that problem by just making Hale really simple to play and giving him a lot of HP. A new player can jump in and actually feel powerful and strong.
Yeah, I mean, rank 15 gameplay is a classic phrase that gets flung around specifically for that kind of reason. Though Redsun's issues with newer players is like a whole different discussion I really don't even feel like talking about today. That's the whole different issue. All I say is, please don't tell people to kill themselves over a water run badge. I can't believe we need to be here and say that. Don't tell people to kill themselves over a water run badge.
In Minecraft.
Not even in Minecraft. Just don't do it at all. Don't do it at all.
God, water run's so fucking overrated, bro.
Oh my god, I can't get into the water run discussion today. I can't even.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I'll humor it for 5 minutes. I think water run, it's fun for me because it's the natural end point of obby def run maps. this is like the most, not counting maybe like Champions Road. Maybe I don't even know if Champions Road is still on the server.
Champions Destiny, and it is, yeah.
Excluding that, it was kind of like the natural endpoint of obby, Death Run maps. Like, this is the most we can go with the concept. This is the hardest, most cutthroat way we can get it, and it got kind of a really fun legacy for that, of being such a rare occurrence map. I kind of like it for that reason, but like I 100% get why people don't like it. 100%.
I don't like it myself, mainly because I spent the first 4,000 hours of my playtime on Death Run servers exclusively, which ran classic maps. Like, parkour maps weren't even a thing back then. That's kind of something that materialized around 2018 or so.
I think me and you have had this talk before, actually, about the difference between more classic Death Run and the more newer obby kind of Death Run.
I think so, yeah.
There's merits in both, really, but I have a preference for the classics.
Yeah, definitely. But I will just not play the parkour maps. Like, I know that people like them. There's a fan base for everything, so I'm just.
It's like I was saying earlier. 90% of Redsun problems can be solved by just not playing a map you don't like.
Yeah, pretty much. I will still play them anyway, but I'll just, Death Run especially is a game mode where if you die, you can just put on YouTube and chill with it.
I don't know. I struggle a lot of times to be upset with video games. That's been a lot of my... maybe not necessarily video games, but just petty shit in general. It's just kind of the learning experience of not caring as much when it's easy to just disengage from something. And yeah, on Redsun, it's a very easy thing. Just sit in spectator or something. If the server's full, just leave. With the way we have it now with 40-player servers, you're not waiting for multiple maps to get in. You're very rarely waiting that long to get back into the server, I feel like.
Yeah, that was partially the reason why we bumped it up.
Yeah, 40 is peak. That's just the perfect number, and it's the best thing to happen to Redsun in years, honestly. It feels great to be able to get in. Sui, would you like to ask any questions from the list I gave you? Or maybe you'd like to give your question you talked about?
Sure, I have a question.
Oh boy. Lay it on lightly. Lay it on lightly.
Mr. Mikusch.
Don't get the podcast over, okay? Lay it on lightly. Lay it on lightly.
Listen. So, what made you want to make Man in the Machine? Was it just like a
lay it on lightly
kind of deal, or like what was the process behind it? I'm really I'm curious to know.
The process behind it was that one day I had a stupid idea. Hey, I like MVM a lot. I played it a lot at the time in Valve servers and Potato. And I was like, hey, what if I actually spawned on the blue side? Would that even work? And I went down this rabbit hole of trying to make that work for the next couple of months. It took me months to make all of that and actually figure it out. And I didn't really have the end goal of making a game mode out of that at all. It was more like an experiment to see if I could do it at all. But
so something kind of like I remember on your YouTube channel you have kind of like just weird experiment videos like that.
Yeah.
Like just testing stuff. That's kind of the energy I get from that explanation.
Yeah, pretty much. I never go into development saying that, oh, I want to make a new game mode. It always starts with an experiment and seeing if it's possible to do. And I tested Mitten, I think, after a month of working on it or so, maybe a bit longer. It was extremely bare bones. A lot of stuff didn't even work at that point yet, like sentry busters or spy spawning or whatever. But immediately, people were completely wild about it. And that's kind of how I knew that, okay, I have to keep working on that.
Yeah, Minim has never been my favorite game or anything, but I do really think it's one of the most impressive things that's been done in TF2.
It took a whole year to finish that game mode. One full year of working on it.
Yeah, I do really appreciate it, though, for what it is. I think it's very cool. And I know for years beforehand, there was, like, I forget, like, who hosted them or whatever, but there was always kind of, like, very weird adaptations of the idea of playing the robot. But they were on, like, really sketchy, weird source mod plugins, if you'd ever played on them before. I'm talking about real ancient, literally just spawning you on the blue team and seeing how that works.
It's also a pet peeve of mine because those plugins typically just set you to a random class or a random giant or whatever, which is piss easy to do. But no one has ever spawned robots from the mission directly. I'm probably the first and only person so far to actually figure out how to do that and implement it. And that's probably the main draw for Mitten as well. You can see what's happening on the top of the wave bar. People know what's going on, and you can actually kind of play it like real MVM, except there's a whole
Except it's way harder.
A whole added layer of difficulty to it.
Because we have, human people. I think most Redsunners are human. I can't, like, verify.
Oh, me neither.
You've been to Insomnia. I feel like you can verify that at least a couple of them are made of flesh and bones. At least
sure,
5.
Sure. Let's go with that.
At least 5. I think that's a confident estimate. Does it go up to Duzzel is not a word. Double digits is what I was meant to hit.
Probably. Not sure.
Not confident. We will have to do a poll on that, perhaps.
At least 2.
At least 2. I guess expanding on your work, would you say that Midem is maybe what you're most proud of? Or is there maybe another project? This question comes from, who's it, Spindle?
I think, Midem definitely is the thing I'm the most proud of.
Rightfully so.
It's just the fact that I actually put a year of work into that, and I'm like, as a single person, right? That's the most impressive part, I think, for myself. I'm gonna pat myself on the shoulder a little bit there, but making that whole game mode basically all by myself without any outside help, I don't think I could do the same thing again.
If you rewrote TF Go, you can technically say you'd been working on it for 4 years. Technically speaking, if you just want to put something on the resume, hey.
Oh boy, no, there's some game modes where
4 years.
There's some game modes where I actually could say that, like Death Run. I made that in 2021, and I've basically started the rewrite about 2 years ago as well. So technically, I've been working on it for 2 years, but also not really. It's just been sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah, obviously it's a lot more complicated than simply the number of years it's been around. I guess I'll get to Spindle's other question. I think it's very interesting, just because of how crazy of a situation it is. But let's say this is Spindle's question, but let's say TF2 died tomorrow. Like, there's a situation where we can't play the game anymore. There is no, like, private servers. They don't work anymore. The game just does not exist. Like, well, you have memories of it, obviously, but it just does not exist. What would you work on? Or is that kind of just like, nah, I'm done?
I wouldn't say I'm done. I would probably go to other games and mod them instead.
Full-time lethal modder?
Maybe, if the game actually gets updated enough.
I mean, they're working on something. Zico, Zumbo, whatever their developer's name is. They're working on something.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to update my mod soon. I'm already preparing for it. But yeah, no, I would probably do lethal mods for a while, and just whatever other multiplayer game I come across. That's like the one thing that it has to have is multiplayer. I will not mod anything that I can't show to other people. That's the main drive for me, to actually show it to other people, you know.
That's fair. That's pretty reasonable, and honestly, that goes for the most part with most every modding scene I've seen. The only thing that immediately comes to mind is different is like Skyrim. That one kind of popped off without. Well, I guess technically you could say most Bethesda games, really. But I have a pretty, I guess a lot of people have an intimate experience with Skyrim modding. But that's the only one that immediately comes to mind for single-player games that have a good modding space.
Okay, here's a confession: I have never once in my life played Skyrim.
Yeah, you're... Would I say it's an acquired taste? Maybe.
This hurts.
It hurts to me.
This
really
hurts. I am not a fan of single-player games in general. That's just how I run, really. I always want to play with other people.
Yeah, I can only think of a couple really like single-player games I really play on my own time. I have a couple I like to just have, like, it's just like a back pocket. Let's just do this and chill out for a while. I have a couple games like that. What immediately comes to mind? A lot of roguelikes mainly come to mind. Something like a recent one I got into, not to, do an ad read or anything, but just talking because this is a game I don't see a whole lot talked about. This little roguelike darling, it's called RoboQuest. It's standard roguelike affair, except it's Doom. I like that. Good shit.
Never
but...
heard of it.
Yeah, it's very, very small team, very small game. But hey, here's your usual jolly ad read on every podcast where I promote some random game I want people to desperately play. I don't know, maybe I'll pedal fucking Jimmy again.
Yeah, if TF2 dies, here's a really cool and alive multiplayer game you can go play. It's called Omega Strikers.
No. I would go full-time Overwatch too.
I'm telling you, the moment if Blizzard was serious and put in the fucking TF2 level workshop, they would make an over $1 billion.
Oh,
All
boy.
I'm saying. Go ahead.
You mind if I read off some of these smaller bro questions?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna next do some of the smaller ones from to Martin, but you can just do whatever.
Okay, this is the last spindle question. Do you have a favorite Hatsune Miku song?
I have never listened to a single Hatsune Miku song. I know
Well,
it's
there you
shocking,
go.
but no.
We'll have to ask Redsun for a playlist.
Surprisingly, my name is not derived from Hatsune Miku, not even in the slightest.
Oh, I guess I'd like to ask about that then. Where did that come from?
It's a book I read as a 14-year-old boy a lot. A book series actually called Warrior Cats. You might know about it.
Oh,
Oh boy!
no. We're bringing back a lot of memories I chained down.
So you
But
may be
I-
shocked to hear, but little fandom Jolly did not actually get into Warrior Cats.
Ooh. I
It's
was very much into the fandom, like a lot, but that is where my name came from, because Mikusch is the name of the German name of barley, which is like a farm cat in the book, you know.
Yep.
I don't know why they translated the name into that. I don't even know where that came from, but I like the name, so I actually took it as my online username, and it's stuck around
very
with me.
not real sounding name. I wonder if it means something. It's a word that means something. Jamie, can you Google the meaning for Mikusch?
Jamie. It's a last name in Germany, that much I can tell you. Some people have it, and if you Google my name, you will probably find some German people's websites with that name.
Yeah, I do unironically need a Jamie now, though, because I recently bought a new keyboard, and it's a very loud-ass mechanical keyboard. I like that a lot. I can't use this for the podcast.
Mall
God, let me
spindle.
just type in a Google document, see if that picks up at all.
You heard it here first. Miku hates Miku.
Miku hates
True.
Miku. True. That's a
Um,
crazy statement.
Aside from that, there's two little more things from Tomartin. Do you have a favorite Redsun item, and
I
do you
was-
have a favorite TF2 cosmetic?
I was really interested in both of those. I'm
Ooh.
curious to hear.
Favorite Redsun item is probably a heartfelt appreciation. I just love the little heart that comes out when you say thanks.
That's real.
It's-
That's such a real
Aw.
answer. Maybe I might ask that every time we have somebody on is what's your favorite Redsun item? I wish I'd
hate
asked
Redsun.
42.
I don't know. It's an item I tend to buy a lot when it's on sale, and then I gift it away to random players.
We love a
Um,
bit of joy and cheer on Redsun. But what about your favorite TF2 cosmetic?
That is actually a really difficult one, but it
We
has to
can
be-
go by class if that makes it easier.
I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is the Essentials Accessoires because my scout loadout I think is very iconic. I haven't changed that in 12 years now.
I mean, I'm part
I
of the
always-
iconic is also the rainbow colors you have on Redsun. It is kind of hard to forget.
Yeah, that's very true. That's because I actually had those cosmetics for so long, and back when spells were still a thing in TF2, remember those? I actually applied a lot of those spells to my cosmetics. And
Oh,
this
wait, is that
loadout-
something that's actually in the game? I thought that was the Redsun plugin.
No, that's actually
real?
in the game. That
Huh.
Yeah, they retired those in like 2014 though, so yeah, 10
That's
years ago.
Pretty quick. Must have been.
So
I can only
yes.
imagine that on some fucking newer cosmetics, how crazy that would be.
and that's kind of why the loadout is so recognizable as well, because I'm the only person in the world that has this.
One of a kind, really. Wow, it's interesting to know that's a real thing.
Yeah, that's not a Redsun
Like
thing.
that's
It's
that-
only
yeah, only
it's
Halloween.
only full moon though. You need Halloween mode enabled to see it on like Valve servers or whatever.
Didn't know about spells, Jolly?
I knew they existed, but I did not know that specific color one.
Look,
Uh.
Jolly didn't know that Sash was Darth Meal, okay?
Jolly didn't know what OBS was until I told her like a week ago, so...
I don't think I've talked to Sash more than like 5 times. So cut me slack on that one at least.
No,
No.
No.
No. It's not easy being a jolly fella on Redsun.
Okay, here's a few more from Tomartin. What is one thing you would add to the server, regardless if it's even possible?
oh, that is genuinely very difficult.
That actually kind of
Ah.
goes along with one of the questions I had was if there was ever anything you wanted to add to Redsun, whether it be like a game mode or a change or a balance or something, but it like you couldn't because it just physically did not work with the engine. Like I don't know how passionate you'd be about this change in particular, but one thing that always comes to mind when I have an example of something that just does not work in the engine is melee resistance.
Oh, I mean, it is possible, just very hacked together, you know?
Yeah.
But there's never really been anything, from what I can tell, that I would say is impossible. I really wanted to do something with like videos, like having a sort of movie player in TF2 or like a web browser inside the game. But that is straight up not possible. You might know that me and Cool actually did some experiments with like a cinema map, but that was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, they did it in Minecraft at Redstone. I don't know what your excuse is, dude. I've seen it with Redstone. You gotta pick up some better excuses, then it doesn't work.
It genuinely doesn't work to actually play videos in the game. It's just not a thing. It's a thing in Portal 2, but that's a whole different branch of the Source engine. So
Like, I know there's a couple specific maps that do funny things like that, but it's not the same. Like, I forget what it is, but I'm 90% sure there's a map that plays like a 180p version of Shrek.
yes, and it's also very broken and not very good. That's that's kind of the limitation. That's what I want to do, but it's just physically not possible right now. Maybe in the future.
I would be very interested in seeing something like that if it was ever possible. I can very much imagine. I mean, this is a very far off impossible concept, but imagine we had like a fourth server or something on Redsun, and it was just straight up Gmod cinema in TF2. Something like that is just such a funny idea.
I would genuinely love that, but yeah, not possible. We don't have the same capabilities that we do in they do in Gmod, you know. It's very old game.
I don't suppose you played around anymore with the idea that since VScript became like a doable thing, or maybe you have.
I mean, VScript doesn't really help much. It's mostly engine limitations, because you would have to play any kind of video on a texture, and textures can only be so big. You're just hitting engine limits at that point. Nothing I can do to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a coder or anything, but in my mind... No, actually, I'm not going to say something stupid and pretend like I know how coding works. I'm actually not going to dig myself into a hole. Unless you want to be amused.
That's smart too. I prefer if people who don't know what they're talking about to either research it or just ask, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of confidence and bravado with my question asking, but like, now that I'm thinking on what I was gonna say, I don't think that's really any different from texturing, so I'm kind of yapping. I don't know. Maybe another time I will not say something stupid on the podcast. I've already been shamed by this episode a couple times. Do you want to go to the rest of Martin's questions, Sui?
Sure. Okay, here's this one. Do you have any unpopular opinions about Redsun, TF2, or IRL that you want to share?
The IRL part is confusing.
That's strange.
What do you mean by that, to Martin?
Okay, so this is going to get very political, but...
Oh, hey. Hey.
No. I'm gonna keep it...
Biden.
I'm gonna keep it to TF2.
So many liberals. Does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I kind of just... I think... I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, but I just kind of hate this whole negativity around what TF2 has become, for example. People are very upset that they're not getting any new weapons, for instance. That quick play is gone, even though quick play was kind of awful in hindsight, if you remember the Star video.
Are you sure most of you guys liked quick play?
It's the first thing. It's the first thing I always hear about quick play. It's like, oh, I miss it so much. It was so good. No. Half of the time, you found free servers, and 2 of those had opinion pot or gold.
Yeah, it's been a very similar thing with, well, it's really not the same situation because there's roll queue, but I see a similar thing with Overwatch a lot.
I guess Overwatch
I don't know about
is more...
you, but I don't prefer people leaving the game.
No, obviously
that
not.
was
But
not
Overwatch
better.
is... I don't think it's comparable because Overwatch doesn't exactly have community servers, which is what quick play funneled you into most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
There were moments where quick play was really good, and I have been around long enough to use quick play extensively, especially when Valve released stuff like Manpower and Robot Destruction. But it really wasn't that good. Casual is a much better experience for the average Joe who doesn't really want to sift through a mass of community servers.
You have any strong opinions on Robot Destruction while we're bringing it up for the first time?
I think it's kind of boring. It's a neat concept, but I really don't care for it.
I think there's something you could do with it to make it cool. Out of all of the experimental game modes that I think Valve tried during that time period, it was the most that I felt was lacking something.
Maybe. I do think there should be
sure what I do
upgrades. No, you have your base that you have to defend where you don't want people to destroy your robots, right? I think you should have some sort of base upgrades that your team contributes to. maybe that's a bit too far-fetched, but it would actually put some depth into the game mode.
You know, in the original episode 7, we dogged on this map, Monopoly, in the mystery map pool. It
Oh.
honestly did something not too dissimilar from that. Now, the reason that sucked ass is because it was building sentries on a flat, square arena map. So that was not very amusing. But honestly, I think something like that on Robot Destruction, or I think that's what it was called, would be, like, there's something you could do with that. Or maybe just team-wide, like, MVM upgrades.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking more of. Either like upgrades for your players, like your entire team's players, and having it balanced so that each side chooses an upgrade, or just straight up barricades to actually protect your robots more. I don't know, it just doesn't have enough depth for me, because all you do is run into the base of the enemy and shoot a basically stationary target to get some score.
Maybe if it was something kind of similar to arena perks. And
Perks
obviously
is
it's not, it wouldn't be an arena map necessarily, but it'd be like, you'd have shorter, like, free 5-minute rounds of, like, destroying robots, stealing stuff, yada yada. Then after that, somebody would win, then you would pick your big team upgrades with the money, and you can do that, like, 5 times. See who wins, so best of 3, or whatever. Or first 2 free. Something like that.
Yeah, that's funny because the moment I talked about upgrades and being balanced, I immediately thought about perks. That map is just awesome.
Perk is probably the best map in years. I like a lot of the Halloween and Christmas maps we've been getting, but in terms of gameplay, I genuinely think Perks is one of the best things in years. And I could play I could play 50 maps of Perks. I could play every arena map with Perks. I really could, and I would be happy.
It's so good, despite being a Halloween map. I'm pretty sure I put it in team battles like all year round.
You made me like Stock Arena. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's actually kind of insane.
And you think of it like that, it is crazy what they were able to get away with. Would you like to do to Martin's last question, Sui?
Sure. Do you have any other interests besides gaming?
Which is a weird way to word that question, I feel like. Hey, you like anything else, loser? No, Tamarn's been very kind with asking so many questions. I don't want to grill him. But that's
I mean...
What if I asked him that?
As I said, I play laser tag every now and then. But it's like a regular hobby for me, and I'm very good at it as well, so I enjoy it. I have like a little clan there.
Laser tag is something I've always wanted to try now that I'm in America. And that's something I'm gonna hopefully do sometime soon. I know there's an arcade near to me. I've been trying to negotiate that. I think it's cool. I think they're cool.
See, the thing is, I don't think laser tag in arcades is the way to go. We have like a dedicated laser tag hall.
Something more like those airsoft circles, maybe. Is the impression
kind of. It's kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, like an airsoft arena group thing, but without that, so to speak.
It's funny. It kind of is like it's like airsoft, but in the dark, and you don't hurt yourself.
I'm getting so sad.
Why?
Because it reminds me of a laser tag place we used to have really close called Laser Island, and it was all like tropical themed. It was so much fun. It was like an actual
for Swashbuckler
dedicated...
too. Surely.
It was a dedicated
don't ever
laser
make
tag
Swashbuckler 2. Don't ever make Swashbuckler 2, please.
I can't promise.
God, that does sound like a cool little spot though, Sui.
And they closed due to COVID.
Oh, womp. That sucks. I've had a very interesting experience with COVID. On my end, I'm gonna keep this brief because this is not what the podcast is about. But so it's a weird case. I'm gonna be very light with my words for my safety. I was one of the few people in my country to catch it. And it was kind of a very awkward time bouncing, in the hospital. I wasn't in necessarily super grave danger, but it's a really weird thing that, I think in total there was under 200 people who had it in Greenland. And it's kind of weird to see the way it impacted everybody else in the world. And for the most part, we just got to buy less alcohol. That was kind of the only main effect in the country. It's just it's a weird time. It's a weird place, but I'm gonna be super light with the rest of it. Outside of that, what other questions do we have on here? I think we got to Martin. I do believe we covered a couple instances of Fluff's question, which was, for Mikusch, is there any particular interesting or wild background stories that made the inspiration for some game modes? Like anything that gave a Eureka effect? I guess we kind of had something maybe adjacent to that with the Midem. Not really the same as like a Eureka moment.
No, that's kind of how all my game modes come to be, though. There's not really any background story to anything I do. It typically is genuinely just, I'm bored, I'm gonna see if this works, and if it does, then I will either put it away forever, lock it in the box, then throw it in the ocean, or I will actually expand on it. The latter is very rare, but in some cases it has worked out.
I guess on that note, and this is going to be another instance where I say I'm pretty sure somebody else asked this, but is there any instances of something you threw away? I remember one of them you mentioned a while back on a VSH map was something you tried tooling together, like a Risk of Rain PvE sort of thing.
Oh yeah, but that never even started. That died in the concepting phase already.
But yeah, anything like that?
Oh, I have never talked about this to anyone, so this is like a world first, but...
Alright, yeah, we're all for world first, and I guess on that note, you're free to, if you have anything to reveal or share as well, this is a good space for it, I feel like.
Yeah, I was working on a complete recreation of Half-Life 2 in Team Fortress 2.
Really? Whoa!
Yes. And you might say, oh, Lambda Fortress, but that's the other way around. That's Team Fortress 2 in Half-Life 2, right?
Yeah.
And it was such a mountain of work. I basically got Ravenholm about 20% done. You entered the level, it played out as normal. The crows, I managed to make them walk around, but they didn't fly away. And I managed to make Grigori come out from his little balcony and greet you, actually look at you as well. And that alone took probably 8 weeks to do, of constant daily work.
Good God.
And at that point I realized this is never gonna get finished. So I kind of just shelved that indefinitely.
I mean, you were probably developing at a faster pace than Valve's teams, but... I don't mean
for a single person. For a single person, I think so. It's because I had to recreate all of the systems that Half-Life 2 used for its NPCs as well, and I got that done. I had the very basics done. It's a miracle that I managed to make crows run around the Ravenholm area, and they would actually leave the area as well if you entered one. So they had some sort of pathfinding. That's where it stopped. That's the most impressive thing I can say about that project.
Man, that shit would have gone dummy.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just my bias, but I find Ravenholm to be one of the best places ever in gaming.
That's why I started with it. I could have chosen to start with the train station where Gordon arrives, but I picked Ravenholm first. Just because I wanted to.
I keep having weird, vague memories in my brain of playing Half-Life in TF2, but I think, honestly, those are just kind of misrememberings of about, God, it was probably 2 years ago that as a community we did all of Half-Life 2 in one go. In a
It
server.
probably was just
And I
the
think in my
maps.
brain I'm subconsciously putting TF2 models on people. Because I know these silly people from Redsun. You know? So
You
it's
probably
kind of
played the
weird.
maps in TF2. Like that's the thing. People port the maps, but none of the things that come with the game. Like the most impressive thing about what I did is actually I straight up used the map from Half-Life 2. It wasn't edited in the slightest. I just used the map from Half-Life 2 and fixed everything that was missing or broken in TF2, which is like everything. But you know,
Yeah, I think it's probably just a midpoint kind of bizarre recollection of playing those sorts of maps of it's just straight up the TF2 map or the Half-Life map ported into TF2, as well as like that session. I think my brain is kind of mushing some things together.
yeah.
That was a peak session though. I really did love that.
Ooh.
Hey, are we ever gonna do the episodes? Maybe? Because I think, do they have the multiplayer mod for the episodes?
Yeah, there's like synergy. You can play the episodes in there as well.
Yeah. Next best option is we play it in like Gmod or something.
No, that's not the way to go.
I played through the vast majority of the first Half-Life actually in a Gmod server.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I-
That's like the worst way to experience
It
it.
probably was, but honestly, I kind of had a good time dicking around with like the 4 other people in that lobby, and I did not finish the game because then I got the Zen, and the long jump ding did not work. So we kind of got stuck there, and it was very depressing. So I don't actually, I only have vague knowledge of what fucking happens in the last like half hour of Half-Life. I think you fight like a giant head crab and then a baby.
Yeah, sorta.
I don't know. Maybe one day I'll play. What was the remake? Black Mesa.
Yeah, I did play through all of Black Mesa back when it was free, actually.
The big thing I always heard about Black Mesa was it made Zen good.
That's
I don't know
debatable,
how much
but
that's true. I don't know how much that's true.
I will not get into that. That is very opinionated.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, this would be the yap space for it, and we're only
Ooh.
an hour and 15 minutes in.
Then in Black Mesa, a lot of people praise it because it looks pretty, but the gameplay is like watching paint dry, essentially. You have basically a lot of puzzles, a lot of them the same. It's just a slog, really. Like, if you like looking at beautiful environments, then yeah, probably it's for you. If you want gameplay, though, no, not really.
Yeah.
I don't know why people remember it as being good when they played it. I don't know. It was better than the original Xen, maybe, because that was a dumpster fire as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's more the impression I got was in comparison is more so what I got out of what I was hearing, but I don't know, maybe I'll try that for real on Black Mesa sometime, or maybe I'll just try it, in an actual version of it on the store page. I think there's like 2 versions of it. There's the regular and the gold source. What is Gold Source, if you know? Because I hear a lot of yap about how awful it was, but I have no genuine knowledge of what Gold Source is.
It's just the original engine for Half-Life and Ricochet and Team Fortress Classic. It's just what the engine is. It came from Quake, I'm pretty sure.
Quake is the start of all good things. You could really draw a timeline like games before and after Quake. As far as I've played, as far as I've seen, that kind of just seems like that's where everything got good. Outside of that, I'm saving a certain question from somebody closer to the end, so I'll blow through some other ones. Sorry, I'm breathing funny. That we have on here. Did Grafina's. We did I guess you did kind of elaborate on this, but this is another one from Gravina. Aside from TFGO, what is the game mode you were game modes you were less satisfied with and want to make a remake for? I think you've mentioned Death Run.
Yeah, but Death Run works fine in its current state.
Yeah.
There's probably Fortress Royale, which I actually did remake in its entirety, but I'm still dissatisfied with it, which is the whole reason why I didn't release it for both Echolocation and Warp Zone. Like the game mode was basically nearly done in both of those events. There's just something missing, and it will come to me at one point. I don't know how long it's gonna take.
I mean, if you tried, no, you did do MVM upgrades. I can't even make that joke.
I actually
Can't even
didn't.
make
And
that joke. You did try that, I think.
not in my Fortress Royale. That was Alex with
That
his
was Alex.
area.
That was Alex. My bad.
People confuse these two all the time, even though they're so different. I guess they use the same maps.
That's because I'm stupid, though. Don't count me in with the rest of everybody else. My stupidity is unique. It is not the same.
Regardless, yeah, Fortress Royale is still something I want to finish and release, and I want it to be actually different from what Alex made. I just really haven't found the thing that makes it stand out. Maybe someday.
Maybe someday, because, I mean, I guess it's kind of weird to talk about it in kind of the past tense, because we still have Alex's, so it's not like Fortress Royale does not happen on Redsun ever. But in terms of, like, when Fortress Royale was something in rotation, that's my fondest memories of Redsun for the most part. I mean, of course, I'm not super proud of old Jolly and what I was like back then. So I don't have the fondest memories, maybe, of my older time on Redsun, but I always have really good memories of Fortress Royale, and just purely for the fun of playing a Battle Royale where I know every person in the lobby. I think that is such an absurdly unique experience. And again, it's not like that's a completely gone experience. We still have Alex's. But just that experience of, again, just playing a huge player Battle Royale. And I know each and every one of you motherfuckers. I just think that's cool. I think
You know
that's
what?
so cool.
I'm gonna give props to Miku for trying it, because to me, Fortress Royale is the only Battle Royale game that I've played that actually plays like Battle Royale should play. And what I mean by that is, if anyone's seen the movie Battle Royale, which is the base inspiration for every other single Battle Royale game, only one person wins, and everyone knows each other. So that kind of thing happening, like I can remember on Cairo specifically, it was just when Mountain Lab Accident came out, the scientist skin for Medic, and everyone who had that skin would run together as a team, as the science team. But the thing is that
is such a defining feature of Fortress Royale, I feel like.
yeah,
And that gave me
exactly.
a headache as well, like a lot of headaches.
But the thing is that gangs did form in the original Battle Royale, but the thing is that once they formed and they killed everyone else, they'd have to kill each other because there could only be one winner. And Fortress Royale was the only other game to do that that wasn't like, oh, you won with your squad or with your duo or whatnot. I was like, no, this is an actual Battle Royale playing out how it should. And that was why I found it so fun, is because, like, this isn't some team-based thing like Alex's, because Alex's is kind of just like Risk of Rain. But
Which,
this
to
is
be
a
fair,
full
I like
actual
Alex.
thing.
I like what Alex did a lot. I think
It's
very
good.
fun.
I kind of like Fortress Royale better, and I can't wait for it to be finished.
I do too. I think, like I said, the gangs are such a defining part of Fortress Royale to me. It's in kind of a weird spot, and I think you, through kind of balancing and tweaking rules and stuff, have felt it as well. But it's kind of a weird thing where it's hard to criminalize it in the way that feels reasonable.
The main thing about Fortress Royale is that it's of course free for all, so you can shoot everyone and you're encouraged to shoot everyone. But of course, you have to form temporary friendships against some stronger individual, or else you're just gonna die to them.
Yeah, and I do think that is really amusing, but at the same time, I don't necessarily disagree with why people hated that.
Yeah,
Like-
the main problem with it was that once you died, you basically had to wait for a long time, and
Eh,
that's an issue I'm trying to fix, but I'm still figuring out how.
do you think that's maybe what that thing is you're searching for?
Yes, absolutely, but as I said, it's a tough thing to actually do without ruining the whole core of it.
Yeah, trying to think what comes to mind. I mean, if you wanted to do something weird, I know like Fortnite or something, they have a lot of like, nowadays they have a lot of NPC whatever enemies, and maybe just respawning players as
Yeah,
like a
that's-
shit mob with like 50 HP. I don't know, maybe something like that.
Doesn't sound like a bad idea. I did have the thought of multiple lives, but if you survived through a wave or whatever, or like a phase of the dome, you would get buffs. Some, I have no idea. This is the thing. What I mean, I'm really breaking my head over it, and there's no one good solution. And also, I have better things to do than to think too much about it.
That's also fair. It's a very fair approach, but I mean, yeah, I have such fond memories of Fortress Royale, and I will always be rooting for you when you work on that, you know? I'll always be here rooting for you. If you've got, you know, if you got 100 fans of Fortress Royale, I'm one of them. If you got one fan of Fortress Royale, I'm that fan. And if you got 0, I'm dead.
Damn,
That's
you're
all
gonna
I'll
make me
say.
cry.
Don't cry. I mean it though. It really is such a special thing to me, and I love it. God, what other questions do we have to go on here?
There's a bunch from the forums that aren't on this list.
There were a couple I excluded. Like, I didn't necessarily exclude every silly, goofy one, but there were some I like. Either I didn't understand how to word this, or I don't know what to do with this information. What's one that comes out of mind? I think your old buddy had kind of. You can correct me, if I'm wrong, Sui. I'm just gonna post it here in the chat room. But your old buddy had asked, has there ever been a talk about making permanent events that go throughout the year? If there's so, were there any plans of making items only attainable through the event? And the context they give is like something like Overwatch, how they had a yearly event. Like you'd have like archives, or you'd have the special Halloween event or something like that. Or even just like TF2, it has a yearly Halloween. Is there ever been any thoughts like that?
We had thoughts like that, yes, but nothing really materialized. I think the
Technically
closest...
speaking, we're doing that with Easter.
Yes,
on
exactly. I
track
was
for that,
about to. I
technically.
was about to mention that. Like, I actually kind of thought about making this a year-round thing with Easter. Obviously, we have stuff like our April Fool's rotation, our Halloween and Christmas rotations. It's small things. It's not really an event per se, but you can play special maps made for the season during those times.
But yeah, maybe anything like that. Maybe not necessarily all like holiday based, but just something that's yearly and recurring. I think that's specifically why they mentioned Archive as the example instead of like something holiday based. It's just something like, I don't know, maybe we had like a once a year blood count or something like that.
Ugh.
Has there ever been any thought of that? Don't do that. Don't do that for the record, but just like if there's
Ugh.
ever been any thought of something like that.
No,
I think that says it all.
I think we should put Swashbuckler on a yearly rotation.
Oh
It's
my
all the
god.
same. It's all the same groups every year.
I think the big argument against that is that it would ruin just the magic of actual events that we push out. If you have something to look forward to, like on a regular basis every year, be it holiday related or not, I think it ruins when we actually push out content that you are meant to complete like that.
And I think it
think
would
that-
also maybe, I don't mean to interrupt you, but just kind of, I think it would introduce a new degree of, I don't know if fatigue is the right word, but just a degree of like, oh, this is coming up. I don't feel like playing. Right
Yeah.
now, I'll go grind. Yeah, maybe fatigue is not the right word necessarily, but just knowledge of something coming up like that. It's kind of like, oh, I'll just take a break until the next update.
Yeah, a big thing about our events is that they're always a surprise. Like I did not reveal what I had planned for Easter. It was just an echolocation rerun, but I think it's still magical to announce it like that, and people can look at it and like, oh, it's something for Easter, you know. Warp Zone, we announced that just out of nowhere. We teased it, sure, but we never gave any concrete information, and it's that kind of stuff where the players are looking forward to something. They have no idea what it even is. But the way we do events nowadays, that we always innovate on what we did previously and try something new, something experimental.
Yeah.
It just brings in a lot of players.
Yeah, I think that's good. I love the event way we do Redsun. I'm gonna shoot my shot. Can I plead for the jailbreak event while we're here?
No.
No, don't leave me hanging, Miku. Please,
No.
I'll do anything. Please. Please, I'll do anything. Please, that
No.
was the most fun night ever. Please, I'm begging you.
Eventually, we're gonna do it again. I don't know when though. It has to be when I'm like actually drunk and I want to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever needed a point, if there wasn't already 40 points against never hiring me for moderator, I would be trying to push out the jailbreak event often. If you ever need a point against me, that's a bonus.
I'll keep that in mind. Gonna bookmark the podcast episode and link it whenever you apply.
Yeah, that'll be the only reason. I'll have it listed out like, you have a good track record, you've been helpful for the community, but the jailbreak event, that's a bet. Yeah, we can't do it. Get out of here.
Oh boy.
God, I can fucking imagine Gino posting that, and that's the only thing in the thread, the application. That would be wonderful. I don't know. This will be a bit like 3 years in the making, I suppose.
Well, I'm good at keeping bits up that aren't funny in the slightest for way too long.
Yeah, that's right.
No, we're not. No. We're not
Sometimes the grind of the bit is fun in and of itself.
Oh. Yeah, this Skull is still active on Raiden right now as we.
But Skull is funny.
I don't think Jolly knows about the Skull.
What? Is there a Skull I'm missing?
Oh, Jolly.
Is there a Skull I don't know about? I feel
Let me
like.
tell you about the Skull.
What?
For all of April Fools, I had the Skull enabled all the time.
Damn, I would have been on there if I knew there was Skull action. Fuck, I missed out.
A lot of people had Skull issues today.
That's
Shut
what you
up.
fucking meant an hour ago when you said that. I
Yeah.
see now.
Skull issue. I'm gonna kill you.
Shut up, Buzz. I'm gonna kill you. Alright, just going off of some other ones on the forums, did any stand out to you that I didn't include already, Sui?
Huh?
I was asking if there was any ones on the forum that I didn't pick up.
There's one from Batfox that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I read that one. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Here's a fun question for you. What's your opinion on some other game modes out there that aren't featured in Redsun, like Times 10, Sandbox, Slender Fortress, etc.?
I think Slender Fortress is another conversation me and you, Miku, have had on the server.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but also I think it can get really boring if you try to play it too much. Same with times 10. You join a server, you play it for a bit, you're like, my kunai gives me 1 health, but 5,000 overheal. Neat. And then that's the end of the story. You don't, there's not much replay value in that.
Times 10 will never be as funny as Earth, I'm sorry. It's pale imitation
True.
of Quake's greatness. Again,
It's just kind of my stance on these things. I mean, everything that we don't run on Redsun, that's
probably for a reason, yeah. Is there any maybe that come to mind that you may have thought of putting on at one point?
Yeah, like rocket jump maps, which I'm sure people watching the podcast who have been asking me non-stop to add stuff like that. God, it's never happening just because there's no need for us to do it. If we did add it, there would be no rewards for it, which I think is what most people actually care about.
That's kind of the impression I got, is that it's people wanted the rocket jump stuff just as another goal to check off.
Yeah, and also the big thing is that there is literally a whole community dedicated to rocket jumping that does it way better than we ever could. Like, Jump Academy is out there. They have actually amazing servers, so I don't see the need for us to include anything like that.
Will we add any trimp maps, perhaps?
No.
I know there's one. I forget the name of it.
It's the same with B-hop maps and like skill surf.
What's the difference in skill surf?
Skill surf doesn't have a jail. It's like purely for the surf course. Some people enjoy combat. That's why we actually run combat surf. It always has a jail. You can fight and do other stuff that isn't just doing the surf course. Which, it's very disagreeable. I know some people, they're gonna be like, oh, I completely disagree. I hate combat surf. I only want it for the surf course. But that's just not how...
Now, as one of the few people who found a way to actually ruin combat surf and make it intrusive for the people who did just want the surf, I feel kind of unfair giving my 2 cents on it. Some people will remember, but I'm sure people tried it before me, but I may be the #1 practitioner of Cloak and Dagger Spy on the Ramp. I don't do it as much anymore, but I can very well remember all the death threats I've gotten, like serious, genuine death threats.
Wait, that was you?
Anywho, this has been a great episode. Thank you all for no. No, like I said, I doubt I'm the first person to do it. Certainly not the last, and I'm sure other people do it. But at least in my experience on Redsun, I was the #1 person doing it. People were not happy
There's always
about
some
it.
trolls.
In
some
hindsight,
trolls.
I'm not really proud of it. I'm really not. It is kind of
It's
funny.
whatever.
It's funny for 5 minutes, and nobody can deny me my 5 minutes. But after that, yeah, maybe I am doing a little much. Which is why I don't do it as much anymore. I did a similar thing with Demo Man before. That was fun. If
Yeah.
what is the Scottish Resistance? I don't know. I feel, in that case, I think if you walk into 20 bombs, maybe that's on you.
That's true.
To some degree, if you walk into my 20 bombs sticky trap.
I mean, there's only so much trolling you can do as well, because
Yeah.
people will advance in the course very quickly. It's only if they die that you can troll them again, because they have to start again from the beginning.
Yeah. But obviously, trolling like that's not the main intention behind Combat Surf.
Oh, it can be funny. I don't
It
fault
can be
you at
fun,
all.
though. It can be fun.
I have no desire to surf. I'm quite shit at surf because I don't try to get better. I just don't care enough. I can beat like tier 1 maps pretty effortlessly, but that's about it.
That's me.
I've never super gotten into the surfing scene. It just kind of seems like an intimidating thing to do.
I just don't really enjoy learning a single map for, I don't know, arbitrary rewards on a community that I actually manage.
Yeah, I don't really care for badges and whatnot on the server, and obviously there's fun you can get from surf maps and the like outside of badges, but to me that's kind of always been like the main goal is, conquering, this certain tier maps, getting these badges, yada yada. And that's honestly probably the main reason I haven't really diverged a lot of time into practicing surf. Is because I kind of just see the circle around it, and it's not appealing.
I just don't have time to learn a surf map. I have better things to do.
That's also like a very fair stance to take on it. Let me see it. There's gotta be some other ones on the forum.
There is a surf question from X-Ray.
Yeah, I
know if you
don't
wanna
know
go
what a
answer
tier
it, but-
5 map is. Feel free to elaborate.
Okay, real quick one for you, Miku. X-Ray wants to know if Tier 5 plus surf maps could be added to Redsun if someone turns them into combat surf, and if so, would they give better rewards?
Sure, we can add them. No, they would not give better rewards.
There you
Because
go.
I'm not up for giving people even more ways to earn BP. Surf is already quite a good BP maker. That's the whole reason why I spent time out of my out of like 2 evenings to revamp the whole reward system and make it into a dailies kind of thing,
What is a tier 5 map? I thought it only went up to 4.
No, there's surf maps. I think they go up to like tier 7 or
You're
something like
fucking
that. Which is
7?
just
Hey,
it's
episode
just-
7. This
just-
conversation was meant to be.
just brutally hard. These maps are just brutally hard, and I think even the people on Redsun wouldn't enjoy trying them out because it just feels bullshit to do. And also, I just don't really care about adding more ways to earn surf rewards. Surf to me is this one game mode where you should chill on and try and beat the course, not try hard for
I don't know,
any rewards.
maybe add them into the surf map pool as April Fools, and they all count as tier 1 maps.
Like, I have nothing against adding more maps if they have a jail. If it's not lazily done, of course. Like, I will not accept someone just putting, like, dev textures jail into a map, calling it a day.
Here's a box. Look, it's done.
God, I forget, but there was a ton of maps that had like a weird jail with like a button to open them. And the kind of gang war that would evolve on those sorts of older maps in their jails.
Pretty funny.
I'm trying to
actually
think
enjoy
of one like by name, but you know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
a
jail I'm
lot of
talking
those old maps.
Yeah, I know we played on them on Redsun before. I'm not sure all of them remain.
Combat Surf to me is a game mode. Whenever it comes on, I just fall asleep,
Yeah.
to be fair.
And there, as we've talked about before, there's literally nothing wrong with tuning out of a game mode. You can tune out of a game mode or map you don't like instead of bitching about it for 20 minutes. It's that easy.
Oh yeah,
It's that easy.
like, even though I kind of hate Surf, I still added more Surf badges not too long ago, actually. And I think the Surf is like that a lot. But there is a certain limit to how much I will add for them to earn. Because, it all has to be done manually. Whenever there's a new map, we have to manually go into the map, make a zone for it. Here's the end. And then add code for it for a badge and stuff like that. This is not worth it after a while. Especially for a game mode that not many people will enjoy. I'd rather, use that development time for something more worthwhile that will benefit a greater amount of people.
All right. I guess I'll pick another weird one from the forums. From Bagel Bites, he asks, "What is your favorite bot killer?"
Gold MK1, the wrench specifically.
Ooh, the wrenches do go kind of hard. I do admit.
It's the only bot killer I actually genuinely like. Everything else, I don't like the dangling attachments.
Yeah, I think the knife has one too, if I recall.
Yeah, but
That's-
it's
that's
so
not
tiny.
dangling. Yeah.
It's not even a real robot head. It's just like a tiny replica of a robot head. It doesn't give the idea of, oh, I killed a bot to earn this.
I don't know. I could see the spy owning like 30 robot miniatures. I can see that in his fancy fucking library. He's over
Oh.
here. There is the whatever he'd say. You know. Like yeah, I don't know. I can see that, but that's not obviously not the point. Obviously, the angle of I ripped this off of a bot head. I would love to see bot killers in the. I mean, obviously we're never getting it, but I would love bot killers that are like other parts of a robot. Like imagine like a heavy hand on a minigun or something. That would be kind of neat, maybe. What was the other one? Trying to think. There was another one that I thought would be kind of cool.
Give me a whole robot. Just strap a whole
whole
robot to my minigun.
Yeah, do it like the corpse carrier.
Yes. Oh no. Oh no. God, there's one I was thinking of a second ago that did not sound shit, but now I can't remember it. I don't know. Give me a boot or something. Let's pretend a boot's funny. Soldier boot. That would go hard, actually. Never mind. But anywho. Is there any other ones not addressing Ethan? There was a couple other ones from Wave. I'm saving one of Wave's questions for last, so we'll get to that. I guess we could probably answer some of their other questions. Again, another weird one. What's your donor order?
My donor order?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
That's a very weird question to ask. I just take the normal, just meats, the salad, and without any sauce because I actually can't stand tzatziki.
I always felt like you would be someone like that. You're not a big sauce person. I've always
No.
felt that in my heart, and I don't know why.
No, I actually hate like mayo as well. Anything like
Mhm.
any bright, like creamy sauces, I can't stand.
Have you told your 11 TF2 boyfriends you don't like mayonnaise? I don't think they'll like this information.
Look, whatever. I'm not gonna
over
indulge in that.
$1,000 of rings. That's all I'll say, man. That shit's
I'm a-
crazy.
I'm not gonna indulge in any of that.
That was a bad, immature joke. I very much apologize.
I'm not gonna indulge the mayo crowd.
I do apologize. I don't know. I tried to keep that kind of content off the podcast. I just had an intrusive thought.
How do you pronounce donor?
Donner.
Donor?
The proper way to pronounce it is Döner.
Donor.
Döner.
Uh,
I love
Um,
German.
The other one, I suppose on that list, again, I'm saving his second question for last, but what's your opinion on licorice is the other one.
I actually like it. I'm one of the few people who actually likes licorice.
I dig licorice, I really do.
In moderate amounts, though, I can't have too much of it. I need like a balance, you know.
Are we talking like that fake cheap ass shit, like the red licorice? Or are we talking actual black licorice?
The black licorice, yeah.
Hell yeah, my brother, damn me up.
Absolutely.
weird. As a
Yeah,
kid,
we-
I
like-
absolutely hated that, but as I grew older, it's just something I eat. on the side.
It's very interesting how taste buds change like that. I mean, I don't know how much. I assume it's like just an urban myth thing, but I always hear like from one thing my dad would always say is like, "Oh, your taste buds grow back entirely over like 7 years. That's why tastes change." I doubt that's how that works, but I do think it's very interesting how you just lose or gain taste for something at random.
Eating so much spicy food, I don't think I have taste buds anymore.
That is also fair. That's been that's a recurring problem with families. I like a lot of spicy food. I ate too much spicy food, and I kind of have a bad time comprehending stuff.
Spicy food, I love. I love when food actually hurts because I don't know, it just makes it taste better for me.
Which is like a crazy statement, but I like 100% feel that. There's no good way to explain it where we don't sound a little crazy.
No, I was thinking, oh, how do I not sound weird saying that?
No, 100%. I feel that it's just a case of like, there's no good way to put this.
Yeah, I like food that pisses off my mouth, you know.
I enjoy the hot, so to speak. There was one more on here. I think it was my question actually. Maybe adjacent to the theoretical game mode tier list episode me and Sui have talked about, but what is your favorite game mode on Redsun? I'm curious. If you can even pick one.
I can't really pick one, to be fair.
If you can't pick one, do one that'll piss people off. That's what
I am biased against my own game modes, but I do genuinely love man versus man because it's just mindless, chaotic fun. I can turn my brain off and shoot a crit rocket into a crowd with a canteen, and it's just dopamine, instant dopamine.
That's so true. I do too much stupid shit in that mode though. I never do the platonic ideal of how it's meant to be played. I just do the stupid shit.
There's no way to play it. That's why there's so many upgrades. Like, if you wanna go complete menace scout with max resistances, go ahead.
My funniest favorite thing to do is maximum tanking heavy. I'll get a chocolate bar and the fist of steel, and I just buy every resistance.
Yeah.
And it's really funny until somebody picks Demo Night, and then it's like my entire bid is over.
That's kind of what I like about the game mode as well. It's a bit of a game of chess. Like, everyone can beat each other. Everything has a counter, but everything can also...
Yeah, but I don't like Demo Night. It's different. I don't like it.
Demo Night was the biggest problem in making that game mode, so I just gave Engineer 4 mini sentries, and the problem was solved.
I very much remember that specifically. Was Demo Night was always a thing. That was the thing that always came to mind is when's melee resistance? When's melee resistance? And it's kind of crazy we had to even consider that for one niche subclass.
I've done so much to balance that mode, and I think it's in a good spot. I haven't had to adjust upgrades in well over half a year now.
I really do. I think the only weird thing about the balancing is that I'd kind of honestly prefer if there was no currency coins and we just had the currency at that rate.
I mean, slow currency starts can be fine.
Yeah.
With currency coins, you end up in the everyone is maxed resistances way too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it does kind of depend on the map to some degree. Shorter, longer maps, it's better.
Yeah. I like to pick maps that are very flashy and very big, so you have a lot of space to roam around with whatever stuff you upgraded.
Yeah, I was surprised how many maps there actually were in Man vs. Man when I looked the other day.
Yeah, it's
Huge
a very
pool.
Very specific maps I put in specifically for that mode and no other one.
Yeah, it really does have just a certain vibe to it that I feel like it's not really... Like, I mean, it's all stock maps, but there's just... It does genuinely cultivate a different vibe, I feel like. That's cool. That's very cool. God, I think we have hit just about every question between me, Sui, and everything but the one I want to hit last. So, I mean, unless you have any other considerations, Sui?
No.
You sound ready to be the fuck out of here.
Okay, you know what? Here's my question. You ever tried it?
Ever tried
No,
what?
we're not doing that. No.
Ever tried what?
I'm sending 12 scolds after you the moment you join the server again.
I lack the context
I'll
for this.
send a real ass skull to your house.
No, you can keep Charles for yourself.
You gotta beat Charles someday.
Oh.
It's gonna be fucking insane.
Jamie, what the fuck does this mean?
Don't worry about it. You
Uh,
wouldn't get it.
It's a Mikusch Sui thing. Go ahead with your question.
I don't know. I'm kind of hung up on that. I don't know. We'll have to get you back on another day for that. But I guess the last question I want to go over this is again from Wave, one of our senior developers. But the question is, what is it that keeps you motivated to kind of, in their own words, bash your head against this game and its engine? You know, what is it about it? Maybe, like, obviously, I guess Redsun plays into it to some degree, but like more specific than that.
It's genuinely the fact that other people will use or play the stuff I make and enjoy it. The main goal is to actually, create a fun experience for people. That sounds so sappy, but it's actually like the reason why I do anything. It's just to, make people happy with the stuff I create. And I guess the reason, like, what keeps me going is people actually enjoying what I create.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what? Pretty apropos thing I saw was like a couple weeks ago, a new player joined on the server. I wasn't there, but I saw what people were posting, and they joined as Man in the Machine started, and they were like, "Oh, what's this? What are we doing?" And then eventually the new player figured out that like what Man in the Machine plays like and what they had to do. And then in chat he was popping off. He's like, "Oh my god, holy shit, this is so cool!" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's really nice to see. You know, that must feel good."
Oh yeah,
It's really
that's
special.
it's those moments that I make stuff for. And I will say criticism is always welcome when I make stuff, but sometimes it hurts a bit to always see your stuff criticized.
I think we
but
have a lot of
obviously-
complainers on Redsun.
Yeah, I guess I also like to complain about some things. I have like beef with VSH for reasons I'm not gonna
Let's
go
not
into.
deny that complaining is fun. Let's not
No.
outright deny it. But yeah,
Criticism hurts though, more
It
than
does.
complaining.
It helps though. It genuinely helps to have people criticize, and it's not like I ignore that kind of stuff. I don't like seeing it, but it does help in the end, and I always try to iterate on things based on what people say. It's not like I turn a blind, I turn a deaf ear or a blind eye towards any of that.
yeah.
I get that sentiment really well, 'cause it's like you do something, you put your work into it, and then show it off, and you want like the feedback, you know, like you're not again turning a blind eye. You're like, all right, what do you think? And then you get a brutally honest review of it, and you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh.
That is always the problem with creative works like that. But you just gotta sit through it, I guess. I think you can always remind yourself that people wouldn't be so passionate and wouldn't give you that kind of feedback if they didn't actually care about what you created.
That's always been my takeaway. I've probably in the grand scheme of things, most of my creative effort has been put into more like private small group sort of things, stuff like a D&D campaign, for example, stuff like that, where it's not like as public as the kind of stuff you two do. Although to be fair, like I don't want to sound like I'm throwing shade, but I mean, Redsun is also a little niche. So it's not like you're putting out some massive creative work or anything, but it's like, for me specifically, the difference I'm trying to make is mostly most of my creative energy has been put into like private small group sort of things, and it does sting, but more than anything, I feel really happy and passionate when I get someone who gives genuine criticism like that. It stings, yeah, but like there's also this sense of like I'm happy somebody cares. And it's something we kind of honestly had to work to cultivate for a little bit with the podcast. We kind of needed a minute before people stopped rooting for this to sink immediately, so to speak. And
Oh boy.
to have people like actually gonna, like give some real criticism and say some real nice things. And it's just so special to me to have people care. I think. And
That's true.
That's been the point of the podcast, really, is I want to kind of work against, I don't think Redsun is overall negative, but I want to do something against the negativity. I want to be able to open up more, more, maybe serious is not the right word, but more like genuine conversation. Those nights where we're all just like playing on some random weird ass map at like 2 a.m. and we start talking about just real normal things. Just no goofs, we're not even really playing what little characters because on Redsun we play up a little bit of character to some degree. Everybody presents themselves with a little bit of persona online, and I think it's those special moments where we sit down and talk like real people that I think it's so special, and that's kind of what I wanted the podcast for, is for that experience. Stuff like this. That intelligent, caring thought. That's what I want to foster. That's what I want to kind of give back to Redsun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that was kind of the yap. This is a jolly podcast. It is on the tin. But,
Don't cry again.
I did not fucking cry. I didn't fucking cry on that episode, okay? I didn't fucking cry.
What? I'm missing something.
Allegedly, according to Sui, I was crying on the episode we did, the 42 interview and birthday, when I gave my little speech.
Jamie, pull up that clip.
No, don't pull up that clip. This is...
Yeah, you definitely cried.
You didn't fucking watch it!
That's true, you still cried.
Shut the fuck up! It's not easy being a jolly fellow on here. I tell you. God. I think with that, we do kind of wrap up everything for this episode. This is the longest episode yet, actually. We try to keep it under 2 hours, and we are 1 minute over 2 hours. So, you can rightfully yell at me. I have failed the goal. But I think this has been a very fruitful session, all things considered.
I liked it. It's fun talking about things that I don't usually get to talk about much.
Exactly. This is the interesting conversation I want to kind of foster. I want to have those real moments we have at 2 a.m. on the servers, just after a random event or map testing or whatever. I think that's special, and I'm really, really glad that you joined us for that, Miku.
Well, thank you for having me.
I could not be more honored to have you. It is great to have you here. Thank you again. Suppose if there's any closing thoughts any of us have, now would be the time.
No thoughts, head empty.
No thoughts, head empty.
Ending statements, you say?
What does that mean, Sui? Sui, what does that mean?
You know what? I won't.
I have no idea what he means by that.
I don't know what he means by that. I feel a very overbearing presence looking down at me right now.
If you've listened this far, remember.
If you talk about the fucking Wattpad, I'm killing you.
No. Make sure. Okay, if you listen this far, remember. Look it up in the Wayback Machine, and
I'm replacing you at Forge.
Hey!
No.
And make
You're
sure
replaced. You're gone. Get out of
send
here.
grape emojis to Mikusch.
No.
Don't do either of those things. Sui, get the fuck out of here. I'm replacing you.
I command you.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I'm replacing you. I'm replacing you. You're done. Get out.